Welcome to the Power Book of Podcasts. Unlock your potential with powerful book summaries that inspire personal growth and broaden your understanding of the world. Each week, we explore life-changing ideas, from leadership to mindset strategies to keys for happiness and success. Learn actionable insights to apply in your daily life. Join our growing community of thinkers and seekers. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button now. It's time to supercharge your mind with the Power Book of Podcasts.
Welcome to our deep dive today. We're diving into new space.
Okay.
Exploring how billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos are shaking up the space industry. And we'll be using Christian Davenport's book, The Space Barons, to get a behind-the-scenes look.
Okay.
It's not just about rockets. It's about personalities, rivalries, and a whole lot of ambition.
It challenges the whole idea of space exploration as just government agencies.
Yeah.
These space barons, as Davenport calls them, they're driven by personal ambition, but also by technological innovation.
Right.
And just wanting to push the boundaries of what's possible.
It seems like every few weeks there's a new headline
Right.
about SpaceX landing a rocket or Blue Origin announcing some crazy new project.
Right.
So where did all this even begin?
Well, it didn't start with Musk or Bezos.
Okay.
You had, back in the late 90s, a billionaire, Andy Beal. He was a mathematician, entrepreneur, founded Beal Aerospace, wanted to disrupt the space launch industry, build rockets much cheaper than NASA was using at the time.
Beal sounds like a true pioneer. Did he succeed?
They made good progress, even built a massive test site in Texas.
Wow.
But he hit a wall.
Oh.
Not a technological one, but a systemic one. He just couldn't break into that government contracting system,
Right.
which really favors those big giants like Boeing and Lockheed Martin.
So even with the best technology, a bold vision,
Right.
you can't just waltz into the space industry and expect to change everything overnight.
That's the lesson Beal learned.
Yeah.
He folded Beal Aerospace because the challenges were just too great. But his story is important because it shows the challenges these future space barons would face.
Right.
It shows how entrenched the traditional space industry was.
Yeah.
How difficult to really disrupt it.
And that brings us to Elon Musk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he had to face that same system
Exactly.
when he started SpaceX in 2002.
Driven by his fascination with space, his vision of colonizing Mars, he founded SpaceX. Goal was to make space travel more affordable.
Right.
And it was a radical idea at the
Yeah.
time. The players in the industry saw him as an outsider,
Okay.
someone who just didn't understand the complexities of spaceflight.
Yeah.
They were skeptical he could succeed where others, like Beal, had failed.
But Musk just seems to thrive on proving the doubters wrong.
Right.
So what were some of the obstacles he faced in those early days?
Technical challenges, of course,
Yeah.
but also skepticism from NASA,
Right.
who were
Yeah.
used to working with those established contractors.
Yeah.
His vision of reusable rockets to reduce the cost of space travel
Right.
met with resistance. Many experts just believed it wasn't feasible.
How did Musk gain credibility then?
Well, one event that helped was the Ansari X Prize,
Okay.
a competition to build the first private spacecraft to reach space twice within 2 weeks.
The X Prize. I remember reading about that. It felt like a real turning point for private space exploration.
Right. It captured the public's imagination. This wasn't governments or big corporations.
Yeah.
It was passionate individuals.
Right.
Small teams taking on this seemingly impossible challenge.
Yeah.
And it was won by a team led by Burt Rutan in his company, Scaled Composites.
Right.
They built Spaceshipone, which was unlike anything that had been seen before.
Those early X Prize flights felt so important.
Yeah.
They showed that space wasn't just for governments anymore.
Right.
Anyone with enough ingenuity and determination could reach for the stars.
You're absolutely right. It was a symbolic victory, demonstrated the potential of private spaceflight. It's worth noting those X Prize flights were not without drama.
Oh.
Mike Melville,
Right.
one of the pilots, had some truly harrowing experiences during test flights,
Really?
including flying blind at one point and nearly losing control during re-entry.
Wow. It's a reminder that space flight, even in this new era,
Yeah.
is still incredibly dangerous and requires immense courage.
Absolutely. Not for the faint of heart.
Right.
And these early pioneers were paving the way for what would become a much larger industry.
Speaking of pioneers,
Yeah.
this feels like the perfect moment to bring in another major player,
Right.
Richard Branson. He was also inspired by the X Prize, right?
Yeah, Branson, the founder of Virgin Group, he saw the potential of space tourism.
Okay.
Founded Virgin Galactic.
Yeah.
With the goal of making space accessible to, well, anyone who could afford it.
He started selling tickets to space before Virgin Galactic even had a working spacecraft.
That's right.
That takes some serious confidence.
Branson's known for his bold marketing and his willingness to take risks.
Yeah.
And he saw space tourism as the next big adventure.
Right.
A way to democratize access to space and inspire a new generation of space enthusiasts.
So we have Musk focused on making space travel more affordable and efficient.
Right.
Branson envisioning space as the ultimate tourist destination.
Mm-hmm.
What about Jeff Bezos? Where does he fit into all of this?
Bezos, the founder of Amazon, has had a lifelong fascination with space.
Okay.
He founded Blue Origin
Okay.
with a more long-term vision to establish a permanent human presence in space.
Bezos's approach seems much quieter and more methodical than Musk's.
Yeah.
Like he's playing the long game, carefully building his space empire.
That's a great observation. Bezos's approach is more deliberate.
Right.
Less public than Musk's. He's not as active on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Origin has been much more secretive about its plans.
So while Musk was making headlines with SpaceX's early successes,
Right.
Bezos was quietly building his own space venture in West Texas.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing for Bezos, was it?
No.
I remember reading something about a helicopter crash.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
While scouting land for Blue Origin's launch site in West Texas, Bezos was involved in a helicopter crash.
Oh, wow.
He was lucky to survive.
Yeah.
It was a harrowing experience.
Oh, I bet.
Could have easily ended tragically.
It must have been a terrifying experience. I wonder if it changed his perspective on risk, a fragility of life.
It's certainly a reminder
Yeah.
that even billionaires aren't immune to the dangers of the world,
Right.
whether on Earth or in space.
We have these three incredibly driven, ambitious individuals,
Right.
each with their own vision for the future of space. Musk wants to colonize Mars.
Right.
Branson wants to make space accessible to tourists.
Yeah.
And Bezos wants to build a permanent human presence in space.
Mm.
It feels like the stage is set for a modern-day space race.
And that's exactly what we're witnessing.
Yeah.
A new era of space exploration, driven by private enterprise, fueled by the dreams of billionaires.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating time to be following this industry. It's
Yeah.
evolving so rapidly, it's hard to predict what the future holds. But one thing is certain.
Okay.
These space barons are just getting started.
It feels like we're just scratching the surface of this story.
Right.
What are some of the key events we should be watching for as this new space race unfolds? Well, one key area to watch is the development of reusable rockets.
Reusable rockets.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Why is reusability so important? Could you explain that a little bit more?
Imagine if you had to build a new airplane for every flight.
Yeah.
Air travel would be...
Prohibitively expensive.
Right. The same principle applies to space travel.
Right.
By landing and reusing rockets.
Yeah.
You can dramatically reduce the cost of launching payloads and people into space.
So reusability was one of the key innovations
Right.
that allowed companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin to challenge that established aerospace industry.
Exactly. And this innovation has led to a significant reduction in launch costs,
Okay.
opening up space to all these new possibilities,
Really?
commercial ventures, scientific research, even space tourism.
This is really fascinating.
Yeah.
Reusability was a major turning point.
Mm-hmm.
What else should we be paying attention to as this new space race heats up?
Another key area is the rivalry between SpaceX and Blue Origin.
Both companies are vying for government contracts, particularly from the Pentagon,
Okay.
which is increasingly interested in leveraging the capabilities of private space companies for national security purposes.
So it's not just about scientific exploration or commercial ventures.
Right.
There are also geopolitical implications.
That's right.
To this new space race.
And as these companies become more powerful and influential,
Right.
they will inevitably face greater scrutiny from governments and regulators.
It feels like we're entering uncharted territory,
Yeah,
this new space race.
it is.
It's not just about technology or money.
Right.
It's also about power and influence. It'll be interesting to see how these dynamics play out in the coming years.
Definitely.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Right.
let's go back to the early days of SpaceX.
Okay.
Davenport's book details some pretty dramatic events,
Yeah.
including a near disaster with the Dragon spacecraft and a suspicious rocket explosion.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us more about those events?
Absolutely. In our next part, we'll delve into the challenges and triumphs of SpaceX's early years, including that nail-biting moment when the Dragon spacecraft almost failed to dock with the International Space Station.
All right, I can't wait, yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the new space era. Last time we talked about those challenges faced by early players like Andy Beal.
Right.
And events like the Ansari X Prize really sparked the imaginations of people like Elon Musk, Richard Branson.
It's amazing how much progress has been made.
It is.
In such a short time. I mean, a couple of decades ago, the idea of private companies launching rockets, sending people to space, seemed like science fiction.
It's a testament to human ingenuity and determination.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, this progress has come at a cost.
Right.
Spaceflight is inherently risky, and there have been setbacks along the way.
Yeah. That accident involving Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 in 2014, that was a stark reminder of the dangers involved.
It was.
Can you tell us more about what happened?
During a test flight, Spaceship 2, the spacecraft designed by Burt Rutan.
Right, same guy who designed Spaceship On.
Exactly.
To win the X Prize.
Broke apart in midair.
Oh, wow.
Sadly, one of the pilots lost his life.
That's awful.
The other was seriously injured.
It must have been devastating for Virgin Galactic and the entire space community.
A significant setback for the whole space tourism industry.
Did the accident set back the development of space tourism?
It did. The investigation revealed human errors, systemic failures that contributed to the tragedy.
Wow.
It highlighted the need for rigorous safety protocols and a culture of meticulous attention to detail.
Right.
But rather than abandon their dream, Branson and his team, they were determined to learn from the tragedy and make spaceflight safer.
It's inspiring to see how they turned a tragedy into a renewed commitment to safety and innovation.
Yeah.
It speaks to the dedication of these individuals pushing the boundaries of space exploration.
Right.
Speaking of challenges. Yeah.
SpaceX also faced a major setback, a rocket explosion.
Right. In 2016, a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket exploded on the launch pad during a routine pre-flight test.
It was a huge setback for the company.
It was.
Both financially and in terms of their reputation.
Absolutely.
I remember there was a lot of speculation about what caused the explosion.
Right.
Were they ever able to determine the cause?
Initially, there was suspicions of sabotage.
Really?
SpaceX had uncovered some anomalies, suggested possible foul play.
Interesting.
But after a thorough investigation, they concluded the explosion was caused by a structural failure in one of the rocket's fuel tanks.
Okay.
A faulty strut.
A strut?
Yeah, seemingly minor component.
Wow.
Led to this catastrophic chain of events.
It's a reminder that even the most advanced technology is vulnerable to these seemingly small flaws.
Absolutely.
It highlights the complexity of spaceflight,
for sure.
The importance of that meticulous engineering and quality control.
You can't have any room for error. Right.
When you're dealing with rockets and extreme conditions of space.
Despite this setback, SpaceX continued to push forward with their ambitious plan.
Yeah.
They were already working on an even more powerful rocket, the Falcon Heavy, capable of carrying much heavier payloads into orbit.
They were determined to perfect that art of landing and reusing rockets, which was a key part of Musk's vision for making space travel more affordable, sustainable.
So even in the face of failure, these companies are constantly innovating, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. It's like they see setbacks as opportunities to learn and improve.
Exactly.
This culture of continuous improvement is essential in the space industry.
It is.
Where the challenges are immense and the stakes are high.
Right.
It's fascinating to see how SpaceX and Blue Origin were pursuing similar goals, like reusable rockets, but with distinct approaches.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about how their strategies differed?
They differed in their methods.
Okay.
SpaceX focused on landing their Falcon 9 boosters on drone ships at sea, which provided greater flexibility, a larger landing target.
Yeah.
Blue Origin opted for landing their New Shepard rocket on a landing pad on land.
Okay.
Offered greater precision, but required more controlled flight paths.
It's like watching two master chess players, each with their own unique style and strategy.
It is.
It seems like there was a little rivalry brewing.
Oh, yeah.
Between Musk and Bezos.
A little bit.
Weren't there some public exchanges between them?
There were subtle jabs.
Okay.
Public disagreements.
Like what?
Over patents and achievements.
Okay.
For example, after Blue Origin successfully landed their New Shepard rocket,
right,
Bezos congratulated SpaceX for joining the club
club
of companies capable of landing rockets,
Uh-huh.
implying that Blue Origin had already achieved this milestone.
That sounds a bit like a passive-aggressive move.
It added fuel to the rivalry.
Yeah.
And these public exchanges, often played out on social media, provided entertainment for those following the new space race.
So beyond the personal dynamics,
Right.
this competition was pushing both companies
It did.
to innovate and strive for greater achievement.
Iron sharpens iron, as they say.
Competition, even if it gets a bit heated, can lead to progress and innovation.
Absolutely.
This competition was playing out against a backdrop of increasing interest from the U.S. government,
Right.
particularly the Pentagon, which was starting to see the potential of private space companies for national security purposes.
As private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin demonstrated their capabilities, the Pentagon recognized those strategic advantages of leveraging their technologies.
Okay.
They were interested in using private rockets for launching satellites, conducting surveillance, potentially even deploying weapons in space.
So this new space race wasn't just about scientific exploration or commercial ventures. It also had geopolitical implications.
And as these companies become more powerful, influential, they'll inevitably face greater scrutiny from governments and regulators.
It's a bit like the Wild West.
Yeah.
But in space.
Right.
New frontiers, new rules, and a whole lot of competition.
A lot of competition.
In the midst of all of this, another billionaire enters the scene.
Okay.
Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft.
Paul Allen had a lifelong passion for space.
Another billionaire with space ambitions.
Like Musk and Bezos.
It seems like everyone wanted to get in on this new space race.
It seems that way.
What was Allen's vision for Stratolaunch?
Allen envisioned a different approach
to
space launch.
How so?
Instead of building those traditional vertical takeoff rockets, he wanted to create a massive air-launched system. A giant airplane.
So the airplane takes off carrying a rocket.
Carries rockets high into the atmosphere before releasing them to fly into orbit.
It's a unique concept.
It is.
It highlights that diversity of ideas and approaches that are driving this new space era.
It does.
It's like everyone was trying to find their own path to the stars.
Yeah.
Using different technologies, different strategies.
That's what makes this era so exciting.
Yeah.
It's a period of rapid innovation and experimentation.
Yeah.
With a wide range of players, from those billionaire entrepreneurs to the established giants.
Right.
All vying for a piece of the pie.
It must have been an exciting yet challenging time for NASA.
It was.
I mean, they were used to being the dominant player in space exploration.
Right.
Now they were facing competition from these agile and ambitious private companies.
Yeah.
How did NASA adapt to this changing landscape?
NASA recognized that they could no longer go it alone.
Okay.
They needed to partner with the private sector.
To achieve their goals.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they started awarding contracts
To private companies.
to private companies like SpaceX
To do what?
to provide services like cargo delivery, crew transportation,
To the space station.
to the International Space Station.
That was a significant shift for NASA.
It was.
To go from being the sole provider of spaceflight services to relying on private companies.
It was a major cultural shift.
Yeah.
There was some resistance within NASA.
I bet.
But they recognized that this partnership was essential for the future of American space exploration.
What were some of the key milestones that emerged from this partnership?
One of the most significant was the first crewed flight of a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft carrying NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station.
When was that?
In 2020.
Okay.
Marked the first time that a private company had launched humans into orbit.
Wow.
A major victory for SpaceX and NASA.
Yeah.
It signaled a shift in that balance of power in the space industry.
It must have been an incredible moment.
It was.
To witness, knowing that private companies were now capable of safely transporting humans to and from space. And all of this was happening while the rivalry between SpaceX and Blue Origin continued to intensify, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The competition was heating up.
Yeah.
Both companies were pushing the boundaries of technology, innovation. We'll delve into the next chapter of this rivalry next time.
Okay.
Including the race to develop even more powerful rockets, and the pursuit of ambitious goals like lunar landings, Martian settlements.
Okay, I'm ready for part 3. Bring on the next chapter of this incredible story. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into the new space era. We've covered a lot of ground, from the early pioneers to the rise of SpaceX Blue Origin and that increasing involvement of the U.S. government.
And remember, this isn't just about technology or even business. It's a story about human ambition, the pursuit of dreams, and the desire to push the boundaries of what's possible.
It's fascinating to see how these billionaires, each with their own personalities and motivations, are shaping the future of space exploration. In the last part, we left off with the first crewed flight of a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, a major milestone for both SpaceX and NASA. What happened next in this new space race?
Well, the rivalry between SpaceX and Blue Origin continued to intensify, with both companies setting their sights on even more ambitious goals. SpaceX, for example, was developing its Starship program.
Starship?
A fully reusable spacecraft designed for missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond.
Starship! That's the one that looks like something straight out of a science fiction movie, right?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
It's a massive stainless steel spacecraft designed to carry up to 100 people to Mars. It's a truly audacious project, and it represents Musk's ultimate goal of making humanity a multiplanetary species.
It's hard to wrap your head around the scale of Musk's ambition. What was Blue Origin's response to SpaceX's Starship program?
Bezos and Blue Origin were also focused on long-term goals, like lunar landings, and establishing a permanent human presence in space. Yeah. They were developing their new Glenn rocket, a heavy-lift launch vehicle designed to compete with SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, and eventually launched their own crewed missions to space.
So it was a race to see who could develop the most powerful and capable rockets. It sounds like the Cold War space race, but instead of nations, it's these private companies vying for supremacy.
That's a great analogy. And just like the Cold War space race, there were political and economic implications to this competition. The U.S. government was closely watching these developments, recognizing the strategic importance of space.
Speaking of the U.S. government, didn't SpaceX win a major contract from NASA to develop a lunar lander for the Artemis program?
You're right. In 2021, NASA awarded SpaceX a contract to develop a version of Starship to serve as the lunar lander for the Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon by 2025.
Okay.
This was a huge win for SpaceX and a major setback for Blue Origin, which had also bid on the contract.
I can imagine that didn't sit well with Bezos. How did he react?
Bezos was publicly critical of NASA's decision, arguing that they should have selected multiple providers to ensure competition and redundancy. He even filed a lawsuit against NASA, challenging their selection process.
It seems like this rivalry was getting pretty intense. Did it affect the relationship between Musk and Bezos?
The rivalry between Musk and Bezos had always been somewhat contentious, but this competition over the lunar lander contracts seemed to escalate things. They traded barbs on social media, with Musk often taking a more sarcastic and mocking tone.
It's a bit like watching a high-stakes poker game with these billionaires betting billions of dollars on their respective visions for the future of space.
That's a great way to put it. And the stakes are incredibly high, not just in terms of money and prestige, but also in terms of the long-term future of humanity.
It's not just about who gets to the moon or Mars first. It's about the potential for space exploration to solve some of humanity's greatest challenges, like climate change and resource scarcity.
Exactly. Space exploration is not just an adventure. It's an investment in our future. And these space barons, with all their flaws and eccentricities, are playing a crucial role in pushing us towards that future.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the world of new space. We've seen how private companies, driven by the vision and determination of these extraordinary individuals, are transforming our relationship with space. What are your final thoughts on this era, and what can we expect in the future?
The new space era is still in its early stages, but it's clear that we're witnessing a fundamental shift in how we approach space exploration. Private companies are no longer just supporting players. They're driving innovation, pushing boundaries, and challenging traditional paradigms.
And it seems like this trend is only going to accelerate in the coming years.
Absolutely. We can expect to see more ambitious missions, bolder ventures, and perhaps even the beginnings of permanent human settlements on the moon and Mars.
It's both exciting and a bit daunting to think about the possibilities.
It is. And as this new era of space exploration unfolds, we'll need to grapple with complex ethical, legal, and societal questions. Who will govern these new frontiers? Who will benefit from the resources of space? How will we ensure that space exploration is conducted responsibly and sustainably?
These are big questions, and it's clear that the answers will shape the future of humanity.
That's why it's so important for us to engage in these conversations now, as we're on the cusp of a new era of space exploration, an era that holds immense promise and peril.
This deep dive has been an eye-opening experience. It's made me realize that the future of space exploration is not something that's happening to us. It's something that we're all a part of, whether we realize it or not. And it's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to create in space.
I couldn't have said it better myself. The future is in our hands. Let's make it a good one.